Welcome back to the Kulwicki Driver Development Program YouTube channel. I'm Casey Campbell. Thanks for tuning in. And this is, if you remember last year, our driver profile interviews. This is where we go in depth and get to really know the drivers in the program this year. And let's this year it's we're going to start off with Max Kahler from Caledonia, Illinois. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So just to kind of start off with, how did take me back to like your first like memory of racing? Like, what do you most like remember about what really like I want to maybe do this? It's like, or what really got you in it?
Well, when I was younger, my dad raced late models at Rockford Speedway, right down the road in Jefferson Speedway. I want to say when I was probably about 6 years old, he built a dirt go-kart track in my backyard, real little go-kart track, just brought in some dirt, made some mounds and bought me a go-kart and I started making laps out there. And then we went up to a place called Litzo's Raceway Park, which is in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I want to say I was probably 7 when I went up there. We just watched. That's where they had go-kart races and stuff on dirt ovals. And I begged him and begged him and begged him to, let me race. And he finally let me in when I was 8. So we went up there, started racing go-karts all over the place. There's a lot of go-kart tracks in the area, a lot more than you would probably think. Did that for a handful of years, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of the people I'm racing with now, I raced with in go-karts.
Right.
Riley Stenjum I raced with, Jacob Nottestead I'd raced with in go-karts. So that's kind of cool to kind of see us all progress. Now all of us are pretty much in super late models. So that's kind of cool. But raced go-karts for a handful of years. And when I was 13, my dad still had the late model that he used to run at
Okay.
Rockford and Jefferson. And we did some work on that and updated a little bit. And he put me in that when I was 13 up at Jefferson Speedway, and we started practicing every Thursday night throughout the summer. At that point, they wouldn't let me race because I was 13, but
Yeah.
they eventually had the insurance company come out, take a look at me and say, okay, yeah, he's fine. So they let me race the last couple of races at Jefferson when I was 13, and I won a qualifying race up there, becoming the youngest race winner at Jefferson Speedway. I think I still am. I should probably make sure, but I'm pretty sure I still am the youngest race winner there. So that was cool. And then the following year, when I was 14, we started running Rockford. Did that for probably 3 years. I want to say 2018, 2019, or excuse me, 2017, 2018, 2019. Then started traveling in 2020, doing the big 8 late model stuff, and eventually came to super lates, and now it's a lot more involved than it was back then, that's for sure. But we're running bigger races and doing what we want to do all along. So I'm really happy where we're at. But like it's a lot of work and a lot of effort goes into racing, and not just from me, from my family, my dad, everyone puts a lot into it. And at the end of the day, you want to go out there and win a lot of races.
Okay. So I know you mentioned a lot. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna kind of go back. I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit.
right.
Let's go back to when you first got in a car at 8 years old. What was that first experience like?
What was that first experience like? Interesting. I don't know exactly, but I remember just running laps out in my backyard, hundreds of laps at a time. It probably felt like, I don't know what it actually was, but did that for a while, and my dad would stand out there watching me and telling me, what I'm doing wrong and what I need to do better. And eventually you learn, um, you know, how to drive and how to save a car that's loose, this is that, or et cetera. So that's cool to have something like that right in your backyard. You can just go out and drive and learn at such a young age.
Okay. So, and then when you were 13, you got to start running bigger type cars,
Late models, yeah.
the bit late models. What was to get in a late model, especially being so young, you never know what to expect. Um, what was that experience like for you when you first got in one? What was it? What was that like?
A little intimidating, yeah. Going from a go-kart to a late model is a big jump, in perspective, but it's all the same. You got a steering wheel, a gas pedal, a brake pedal, and now a clutch pedal, but all the same concepts. So took a while, to really get acclimated to what's going on. But once you get it figured out, it's almost second nature at that point. So that was cool to get that experience at such a young age, like you said. and to start, learning how to drive those cars and learning how to work on those cars and what the setup is like on them is, really good in my opinion for someone who's 13 years old to get that experience and to start, you know, building the race knowledge and the car knowledge and the setup knowledge.
Okay, so when you were 14, you started running the big races at Rockford, and
Yeah.
I know that track is, well, when that track was around, I know that's not far from where you live.
No.
What was it like to race there and starting off, and then we'll obviously get more into Rockford as in a few minutes, but to start off that place, knowing that I get to race on the track that I grew up, that's right down the road from me, as a 14-year-old, what was going through your head?
I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Um, it's Rockford's an interesting track. It's a lot different than other places. It takes a little bit to get used to how you pass there. There's going to be a little bit of contact. That's just kind of how it is, and it's just a hard place to figure out. But once you got it figured out, if you get it figured out right, you're gonna have a good time. So there was a big learning curve there, but I just thought it was really cool. All my local friends and family would come out to the races, and it's cool having them there and having the local crowd. And like you said, being 5 minutes down the road from me, literally, I live on the same road that the track is on. So it was awesome. It's really sad to see it go. Like I was saying, the last time I talked to you, it's seeing it driving by it every day and seeing it, slowly get demolished and taken away. It sucks, but it's just kind of part of the deal nowadays with all the development stuff going on around here. So.
So what was 14-year-old Max like?
Um, what was I like? I don't know. I would say probably pretty shy. Other than that, I'd say I'm kind of the same that I am now.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So so after after running late models at 14, what was next?
Well, so we ran Rockford Weekly when I was 14, 15, 16. So that would be 2017, 2018, 2019. Then the majority of the season in 2020, but we also ran the Big Eight Late Model Series,
Yeah,
which is kind of the touring series for
right.
limited late models in this area. I ended up winning the championship in that. So that was kind of the next step for us to kind of venture outside of our, Rockford bubble, I'd say, and kind of go out and explore some of these new tracks and learn these new tracks. Um, and get that experience. So that was really cool. And it's not like we didn't go anywhere besides Rockford. We went to Jefferson, all these other places, Slinger a lot in 2020 as well. So we did traveling, before we really ran the Big Eight series, but it was just interesting to go out and learn some of these other tracks and really, do some traveling as opposed to just going down the road every single week. So that was really cool. And it kind of sets you up for the next step, which is the super late model stuff because they don't run supers weekly at Rockford. So you have to go out there and travel and explore these new tracks and learn these new tracks. And that's always fun for me. Running the same place every week. It's fun, but it's in my opinion the best when you can go and travel to these other places and you're constantly having to adapt to these different tracks and maybe a little different driving style depending on the track. So that was really cool to experience. And then in the previous year or the next year, excuse me, we bought a super late model and kind of dabbled in that a little bit. We probably ran 3 races, I want to say, just the races at Rockford. So we ran the ASA Midwest, or not the ASA Midwest Tour, it was the ARCA Midwest Tour at that point,
Right.
at Rockford Speedway. I think we finished fourth in that race, my first super late model race, which we kind of lucked into that, but it was cool to get that experience. And then we ran the National Short Track Championships that year as well. So that was cool
Wow.
to dabble in the super late model stuff. And you're running, for the Midwest Tour, you're on a 2 barrel, but then for short track at Rockford, you're on a 4 barrel, and that's a lot of fun. At Rockford, you're really hauling the mail on a 4 barrel. I mean, not hauling the mail, but for such a tiny track, you're really getting after it. So
What year was it? Was this 2020?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, I mean, obviously that year was, that was the COVID year. So I don't know
yeah.
how many places were operating at that time, but what was it like to just go out there and to do all the things that you did in a really, really strange year?
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. I know we went to Slinger like the first 4 or 5 weeks out of the year because that was the only place open. Nowhere else was operating. Rockford wasn't open. That was the only track that had opened up, and it was, I want to say it was like the middle of May when they first started going. So we ran there weekly up until some of the other stuff started going, and then kind of went back into our rhythm of what we were trying to do, running Rockford, running the Big Eight stuff. So that was cool. And Slinger has a place that I hadn't been to before then. So it was cool to go there initially, but then to keep going back and really learning, what that track's about and, what your driving style needs to be there was really cool.
Yeah. So really, you talk about Slinger, but you also talk about all these other tracks that you ran. What were some of the other highlights that you really took away from that year where you can say, man, this place is interesting?
Yeah. We ran lacrosse that year. We ran Jefferson some that year, Wausau some that year. That was the first time I've been to Wausau too, and that place is just nothing. You go to Slinger and then you go to Wausau. They're like polar opposites of each other.
Yeah.
Slinger, you can never get off the gas, and Wausau, you can never get on the gas. And I learned that out the first practice session. You go out there and loop it around on the front stretch, at quarter throttle. You soon realize that, yeah, this place has no grip, but it's a fun track, and it was cool to go there and kind of, learn these different tracks and these different driving styles. You get stuck just going to Rockford. You think every track's like Rockford, and everywhere I can, put the foot to the floor and be okay. Well, that's not the case, right? So it was interesting to go there and really, get an eye opener of some of these other tracks up north that have no grip. But Slinger is really a place that, really sticks out, I think, to anybody just because of how fast it is. And, it's banked 31, 32 degrees, and that's just nothing like we have. It's like no other track we have around here. So that was cool to really see, and excited to be there this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that later
We'll
too.
get to that.
So you're racing, you're also managing. I believe you were in high school at the time during
Yeah.
all this stuff. What was that
Mhm.
like to navigate through and have a racing career? You went to, if I'm not mistaken, you went to an actual high school. You didn't do online stuff or anything like that.
Mm-mm. No,
So what was that like just to have a racing career while trying to be an everyday kid?
right. It's interesting, racing, going to school, playing football all at the same time. It's
That's right. I
it's a
forgot you did
lot.
that too.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of my friends, you know, they obviously have known about it since I've gotten started, so they always come to the races and, talk about it at football practice, this or that. So just being a normal kid who also races is tough. It's a lot of work, like I was saying earlier, to keep these cars up to date and to get all your stuff done throughout the week that you have to do on them. So it's a little bit time crunch when, football season really starts, the end of the summer. So it's interesting, but it's just, you wouldn't trade it for anything. Looking back on it, it's not like you were, you know, crazy overwhelmed or anything. It was a lot of work, but you knew what that work was for, and that was to be able to go to the racetrack and win races. So at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it.
Okay, what position did you play?
I was a linebacker.
You were a linebacker. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, the most, I believe it was your senior year, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
hmm
didn't you play football in the spring?
Yeah. So it was canceled because of COVID.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
and then we played in the spring, and we're having to go to practices at 5 a.m. at an
Yeah.
indoor sports center
Yeah.
in Rockford. So we're waking up, going to football practice at 5 a.m., then going to school. And I want to say there was like only four games on their schedule to
Yeah.
actually play because some of the teams just said, we're not doing this. This is stupid. We're not going to play football in the spring. But we got through like two games. And then I had stepped away from football because of the Quick Drive Development Program. But soon after that, like 2 days after that, the rest of their season got canceled because the team that they were playing and the other team, both, the majority of the team got sick. So
Yeah.
they just canceled it all. And that's a devastating way to have your, final football season go out for sure. So it was interesting year, just like everything else. Everything's weird. nothing's normal, and that definitely was weird for me to be playing football in the spring, but it's better than no football, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember because at the time believe Illinois was only, I think, the only Midwest state that didn't play in the fall. And there was,
Yeah,
remember, there was just a whole, because everybody out like Indiana, Ohio, Michigan was originally going
right.
to play, but they did, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all the other states. I'm like, no, that's interesting. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I was gonna get to the program because of course in 2021, you became a finalist. But before we talk about that and how you kind of found out, but how'd you hear about it?
Um, how did I hear about it? Well, I guess I heard, Ty Majeski being a part of the program, and obviously you
Mhm.
see stuff online about the program. So I've always kind of known about it. And I think it was my father who, had really pushed for me to apply for the program in 2021. And obviously I did and was selected as one of the finalists or the semifinalists. And at that point there was a lot of semifinalists, or was there half of the previous year and
That's
half
right.
of
Yeah, that's
that
right.
year? Yeah.
Because
So
they
it was
didn't have a
like
program.
it was a strange, right? It was COVID strange. Having, half of the finalists from the previous year and then another seven from 2021. And I actually got the call that I was accepted while I was at football practice, right? I'm sitting there
Yeah.
watching film and having to step away to answer the phone. So that was interesting ordeal, and having to explain that to the coach was, kind of weird, but he understood for sure, and it was just cool to be a part of the program. It's definitely worth anyone to apply to it. You never know, if you'll be selected and be a part of the program. So it's cool. It was awesome being a part of it in 2021. It's There's, a lot of family type, feelings that you get from the program,
Mhm.
being a part of the community and really, making Alan proud with everything you do on the track and off the track and giving back to your community through the program is really cool and something that everyone should experience.
How old were you when you were in the program the first year?
In 2021, I would have been 18. Yeah.
Yeah. So, at that time, what were you doing, like racing wise?
Let's see. Well, in 2021, we were planning on running basically what we're doing now, pretty much. The majority of, the Midwest Tour, miss a couple races here or there. I think we are planning on running like 8 races at Rockford Speedway. So, obviously more than we've done previously and more than we're doing this year because there is no races there. And running some stuff at the Dells, just kind of running mostly Super Late Model stuff, but really, coming back to our roots and running the stuff at Rockford as well.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And in the Super Late Model stuff, we shorted a little bit that year with it. That was kind of our first year of really going out there and running some of these bigger races with, these bigger fields and stuff. And it's just a big learning curve, especially going from a limited late model to a super late model. Your
Mhm.
setups are completely different, and there's a lot of learning, how to drive them and learning, what setups to do, what changes do what. So it was a big learning experience for me for sure, but really a fun season.
So going into, that year, was that like the first year you kind of took that big jump? It's kind of like, you're diving in, you're going in a pool for the first time and diving in the deep end. So
Mhm.
what was that like for you? Because did it kind of get you out of your comfort zone a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. The previous years we'd probably run 3 or 4 super late model races a year, nothing crazy. And we were, hand picking races that we really could, know we would, not completely struggle at. And this was really just jumping off the deep end and seeing, where we stack up and what we can figure out and what we can really do.
Okay. So yeah, what was 2020 or what was 2021 Max Kahler like?
Ah, man, you asked me what I'm like. I don't know what I was like. I'd probably say the same thing. I was probably pretty shy still.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I was learning.
Yeah.
I was trying to learn, trying to see what I could figure out, and at that point, well, I guess I would have finished high school in the spring and no more football. So there's that, and just kind of trying to focus on racing and starting to go to school at Rock Valley College for associates in engineering science. So I would have started that in the fall and had a lot going on, just like the previous years, and just trying to learn.
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, the other strange thing about, your time in high school that year was your high school graduation. What was
Right.
what was that like?
I don't know. I didn't go.
That's right. I forgot because it was like COVID and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it was there. I could have went, but I'm pretty sure we were racing because it was on Saturday. I'm pretty sure we were racing.
That's right.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so after 2021, you kind of did the same thing, you're doing now in 22 and 23. If I'm not mistaken, did you apply for the program those in 22 and 23?
Um, I'm pretty sure. I know I did in 22. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I did in 23. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was those 2 years like as you kind of you're, building your confidence and, getting some solid results those 2 years?
Yeah. They were interesting years for sure. We were still get, 3, 4 wins a year at Rockford Speedway. We're still going there, probably 8 times a year, 7, 8 times a year, trying to hit some of the big shows. They've got trailer race night, which is a really big race. They do those. Well, they have one trailer race, a boat race, and then another trailer race. So those are big nights to go there. The place is packed. It's a lot of fun. So we try and make those races, try and make some of the stuff at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year. So we're still running Rockford quite a bit, and also, doing the super late model stuff and trying to learn some more. In 2022, we had purchased our Fury super late model, and that was a different, definitely a different approach to what we've been doing. And there was still some learning going on there that took, the whole year pretty much to figure out, and never really got a handle on it. We struggle occasionally. We do pretty decent, but for the most part, we just struggled, throughout the year. And then the previous or the next year, 2023, or excuse me, yeah, 2023,
Yeah.
we it kind of started to get around to what really needed to be done, and what, these cars really like. And towards, the latter half of the year, we really started hitting and really started, seeing good results, and constantly, qualifying good, constantly finishing inside the top 5. And there's, a handful of Midwest Tour races that just slipped away from us. There's the race at Jefferson we really, should have had one. Race at Madison we really should have had one. And just stuff like that. Really, looking back on it, it irritates you, but it's all just part of the process of learning. And one of these days we'll have everything fall our way and win one of them Midwest Tour races. But yeah, the latter half of 2023 we really, started getting some stuff figured out, and got a handle on what was going on, and realized, what adjustments, we need to make on certain scenarios, and had really good, a baseline setup for different tracks we go to.
Okay. So, 2023, final year at Rockford.
Hmm.
Um, this is a dumb question, but were you at the final night, and what was that like if you were there?
I was, yeah, it was an interesting night for sure. Everyone, you run short track thinking that's the final race, and then they add another one. So obviously we were there running that, and that's a race we really should have won. Um, and got tangled with or we were leading, and a guy passed me and got into me a little too hard going into 3, and we both went around, and went to the back for that too. And yeah, it was just an interesting race. A lot of people were very emotional. Me, not so emotional. I mean, it's sad for sure, but I wasn't out there crying or anything like that. But yeah, it was just an interesting deal. Pulling off the track knowing that's, probably going to be your last time on it, in a race car at least, is interesting, and it's a surreal feeling that you don't really, realize until you're there, doing it for the last time. So yeah, not it was a fun race for sure, but would like to, be back there again.
For sure. Okay, so let's go to this year. Of course, you applied for the program again. you became a semifinalist, and what was it like, applying again? It's like, okay, let's take another crack at this. What was it like going, applying for the program again this year, and what did you feel like your chances were?
Um, I don't know what I felt like my chances were okay. It's hard saying because you don't know who else is really applying.
Hmm.
But you have an idea, and I feel like our performance at the end of the year really showed what we're capable of, what we can do in 2024. So I felt confident in that aspect, and I just, had been wanting to be back a part of the program for, the previous couple of years and thought we were in a good position to do so. And I think we're in, a great position to really go out there and win a lot of races, to be a part of the program. And that's really, what you want to make sure is you want to make sure you can go out there and perform and do good while you have this opportunity at hand. So that's the main reason I wanted to apply. And obviously to be selected was really cool. To be a part of the program again was really cool. I have a couple buddies that have been a part of the program twice, like Riley Stenjum and stuff. So it's excited to really get further on into the season. Obviously had our first race last weekend, but really excited to get going and starting to get busy throughout the summer and stuff and going to a lot of races and hopefully doing a lot for some charities that we have going on and doing a lot for giving back to my community.
Yeah, I know you talked about a few of those things this year, and actually, you got some things currently going on right now, so
Yeah.
we'll give you that opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, so this last Saturday at the Dells, we held a raffle for a door off our race car to benefit Nick's wish. There's a young man there named Angel. He's 24 years old, and his wish was to visit a famous racetrack and to drive a sports car. And I thought that was just perfect, right? We're raffling off a door, and his wish is to go to a famous racetrack. And he was diagnosed with type of cancer that unfortunately I can't pronounce. I'm not going to try because I'm going to butcher it. But he was diagnosed with that when he was 15 years old and had been battling it ever since. So it was cool to raise, I think it was over $1,500 for him to hopefully get his wish granted. And I think we're gonna end up doing a lot more with Nick's Wish. That's a local organization for us, and it's really cool what they do.
Okay, if people want to donate, where can they go?
Where can they go? I think they can go to the Nick Wish website. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I assume it's probably nickwish.org. But I just Google that and see there's a lot of stuff on my social media as well about it. So reach out to me or reach out to them and we can get you in the right place.
Okay. And this past weekend at the Dells was interesting. Do you want to talk about what happened toward the end?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start towards the beginning just to give
Okay.
people a little background on what's going on. So we had a really good car, throughout practice and qualifying. We struggled a little bit. The tires were on, reacted a little different than what I was expecting for sure. So qualified 16th, which is just barely making it into the show. They take the top 16, and it's never good when you're qualifying that far back. And so the qualifying order they do up there, it's the order in which you apply for the race, right? So if you're the first to sign up or register for the race, you're the last to qualify. So it's like, they send out the time and everything, so you're on your computer going as fast as you can to try and get your entry form in. We were third to last, and we went out and qualified 15th. And then the next car beat me. Then the final car was 1/1000th of a second slower than me. So we barely made it by 1/1000th of a second into the field, which is nowhere. We were really good, top three, pretty much all practice, and we thought we'd be a lot further forward than that and not have to worry about those things. But sometimes stuff happens, and we just missed it a little bit. And I probably overdrove it a little bit for these tires that we were on. They didn't quite come in like our 30/35s and 30/45 tires that we were on last year. But started the race 16th. Fell to the back, fell to about 23rd on the initial start. The outside lane just didn't really go anywhere. And then worked our way back up, all the way up to fourth with, I want to say about 20 laps to go. Was passing the third place car with about 7 laps to go, 6 laps to go. And going into one, he just decided to come down and come right across my nose and spun going into turn one. So we both got sent to the back for that. And with 6 laps to go, starting 15th, there's not a whole lot you can do. So I ended up 13th on the day, but results don't show it, but we had a really good car, probably, a top two car, and just didn't quite have the track positions to start off and had an unfortunate event occur with six to go. So we'll move on and hopefully learn from our mistake qualifying, this Sunday at Slinger and hopefully get her locked into the show.
Yeah. Slinger is going to be fun. The opener to
Yeah.
the ASA Midwest Tour season. 40 cars in, it's going to be, and it's going to be tough just to even make the main
Right.
show. But um, your thoughts on that and a big day ahead of you.
Yeah, we'll see. It's been a while since we've been there. We actually have never been there with this car, I don't believe. But we've always kind of struggled a little bit. We never had a really good baseline setup for there. But I think we've got a good starting place right now. We've got some good data going into this weekend. So hopefully we'll get up there Saturday, get it figured out in practice and have a good car for Sunday. And like I said, hopefully get it locked into the show because it's going to be a tight field for sure. And with 40 cars, you never know what can happen. So looking forward to it.
Okay. It is time to get to know Max Kahler a little bit. How about that? Okay, so what is your favorite food?
My favorite food, probably salmon. Yeah,
Salmon. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I like salmon.
Let's see. What's your favorite go-to place for food, like outside of home?
Go-to place for food outside of home. I go to Culver's a lot. Typical Midwest thing to say. Uh, I don't know. I try not to eat a bunch of, fast food nowadays, but
Well,
yeah,
I
Culver's.
okay, I know, but it's just like, okay. Yeah, I mean, you got I know you're I mean, I'm on a diet too, so
Right,
I
right,
mean, I mean we all are, but
right.
no, I figured I'd ask. Favorite movie.
Favorite movie, favorite movie. Um, I don't know. I like The Gladiator. That's a good movie. American Sniper is a good movie.
Okay.
Um, yeah, other than that, I can't think of a whole lot right now. So those two. Yeah.
Do you watch any other sports outside of racing?
Um, Not really. Football a little bit. When the Bears are playing, I'll watch them. Occasionally go to a game, a couple times a year. But not really. Pretty much just racing and a little bit of football.
Okay. And then finally, what is something people do not know about Max Kahler?
What is something people don't know about me? Man, that's a good question. Something people don't know about me.
Or like, what is an interesting fact that people would never guess about you?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you caught me off guard. I didn't prepare. I don't
I,
know.
I tend, anytime, and you're not the only one. I ask a lot of people that question and they just don't. Um,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
I just
I,
don't
I
know.
can't, I can't end it on that. So I'll ask, what's a TV or streaming show that you're really into right now or were into in the past?
Right now, nothing. I haven't watched anything for a long time, but I was watching Breaking Bad. Yeah, like
Okay.
probably a year and a half ago, I was real into that. Watched the whole thing, probably,
Okay.
and I don't want to say a couple of weeks because that seems crazy, but probably 3 weeks I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All
a
right.
little late to that old deal, but it's an interesting show.
All right. Well, Max, thanks so much for the time as always, and best of luck this weekend at Slinger.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.